A type of movie that people of a certain age have a particular affection for are the Disney Channel original movies, and recently I watched all the ones that premiered in the 90s. For those unaware, these were films produced exclusively for the Disney Channel. While there were ones before these going as far back as 1983, the first one deemed a Disney Channel original movie, or DCOM, was Under Wraps, which premiered in 1997. The idea was to turn these movies into must-see appointment television for children, and considering the nostalgic fondness many still have for them, Disney Channel succeeded, with the number of movies even growing to a new one every month or two. Surprisingly, while I did watch a few DCOMs in my youth and was aware of them, I had not seen most of these, as I tended to gravitate more towards the Wonderful World of Disney movies on ABC. That actually made watching them for the first time really exciting, as I did not have any specific expectations and did not know where I would land with them. A lot of them I even had only the plot description on Disney Plus and the poster image to go off of. Most of these 90s Disney Channel original movies involve a young protagonist and some sort of childhood wish fulfillment plot. Usually something fantastical happens to them, although a few others are more grounded. However, the idea seemed to be to give children watching them a chance to see someone like themselves take part in something amazing. I think that's the major reason they prove so appealing, and I think it's also important to watch these with that mindset. Do I get drawn into these scenarios? Am I invested in what these children or teenagers get up to? Those seem to be the main thoughts that ran through my mind as I watched them, while also recognizing that these are meant to be fun escapades to kick back to and watch after dinner on Friday night. I found the DCOMs I liked the most were those that took full advantage of their premise and were able to develop the characters in interesting ways. For example, Under Wraps involves a mummy who wakes up in present day, and while we have a lot of amusing antics with that mummy, what helped sell it was the friendship between the three leads and the individual personalities they're given. I genuinely enjoyed the scrapes they got into and their dialogue exchanges, with the film also creating an investment in things like one of them coping with his mother having a new boyfriend. Halloween Town similarly does a solid job of depicting its young leads and their wonderment at this place full of witches and monsters. And then there's Smart House, which takes its concept of a futuristic house and does all sorts of fun things with it, along with having a message about how technology has its faults too, despite our dependency on it. Although again, alongside the rogue AI storyline, one of the main things I found most captivating about Smart House was its lead protagonist. When we're told at the beginning of the movie that the mother has died, I thought this was just typical Disney and the studio's penchant for including parental deaths in stories. However, it's not just there for the sake of making it a single-parent household. It actually plays a pivotal role in Ben's development and his reasoning for playing around with the Smart House and changing her commands, and even leads to a few genuinely emotional moments. I do find the characters are necessary in making these DCOMs enjoyable and creating some investment in the leads. Johnny Tsunami follows a pretty standard storyline of the new kid in school and the rivalry between skiers and snowboarders on this Vermont mountain. The antagonist also greatly frustrated me. However, Brandon Baker and Lee Thomas Young were so charming and likable as the lead character and his best friend respectively that it helped make the film a tolerable watch. In contrast, I struggled with Genius because the child prodigy at the center of the story decides to purposely act like a jerk to impress a girl, and his behavior and decision-making did not make him all that endearing and sympathetic. Something these Disney Channel original movies often had difficulty with was writing the bullies, who tended to be fairly one-dimensional. In Johnny Tsunami and Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, for example, they immediately decide they hate the main character before they even sit down. The girl on the ladder even acts all snooty because of the way Xenon is dressed. The parents can be a mixed bag too. I like the father in Smart House, who has a good mix of goofy personality and needed parenting skills. The parents in Under Wraps, also fun bunch, and Grandmother Aggie in Halloween Town is a delight, although that's helped by her being played by Debbie Reynolds. But others can be a bit frustrating, either not listening to their children even when they have a point, or being complete Debbie Downers. Look at you, Mother from Halloween Town and Father from Brink. Well, I thought the worst was the father in Johnny Tsunami. The entire time he acts like a jerk towards his son, mostly because he likes surfing, and is just a flat-out terrible parent. In every disagreement they had, I completely sided with Johnny. When the mother finally called him out in it, it was so satisfying. However, it also meant that him suddenly changing his tune and cheering his son on the slopes felt unearned. There are also particular types of stories that are often used in the DCOMs. Sports seem to be a popular topic. The 13th Year is about a swimmer who grows fins because he's really the son of a mermaid, and already brought up Johnny Tsunami. Brink is definitely a product of the 90s and the rise of extreme sports during that decade. If you ever picked up an issue of Disney Adventures magazine and looked at the sports section, that whole film felt like those pages. Even Genius throws in an ice hockey subplot. Fittingly, every October, Disney Channel premiered a movie related to Halloween. There was Halloween Town and Under Wraps, of course, as well as Don't Look on the Bed, which was even filmed like a Sam Raimi movie. I mentioned that the DCOMs function as childhood wish fulfillment with a focus on teenage or child-age protagonists, although there are two notable exceptions. One was You Lucky Dog, which focused on an adult and I assume was a remnant of the Disney Channel films that preceded the DCOMs. The other is Horse Sense, which is about a college student who gets sent to work on a farm. While he does have a young cousin, he mostly wakes up incredibly early in the morning, does chores on the farm, and becomes concerned about foreclosures. I don't think there are many children who fantasize about doing that. And then later, the older cousin has conversations about pyramid schemes and land trusts. The nice thing about a lot of DCOMs is even in the ones I thought were just okay or average, there were still some elements I found to be creative. I liked how Xenon did not try to accurately predict the future and mostly focused on having fun, like the space station being made to look like classic Star Trek and the unique slang being used, because, well, they will be saying things in 2049 that would sound wacky to us today. Or the way Don't Look on the Bed depicted the world underneath our bed full of life-size versions of typical lost items. However, there are those DCOMs that get a little too odd. You Lucky Dog, for instance, revolves primarily around a single joke, where Kirk Cameron acts like a dog. That is the main attempt at humor, and boy did they run that joke into the ground. It also ends in one of the most bonkers courtroom scenes I've seen in a movie. Meanwhile, the child prodigy and genius uses his smarts to help hockey players cheat at a game. Now, you might think the lesson of the movie will be that cheating at sports is wrong. It is not, because they win the game, everyone's happy, he gets the girl, and there are no repercussions for doing that. And finally, there's Can of Worms. You might think that it was the alien puppets that I found the weirdest about that movie. Instead, it was actually that they don't show up until about halfway through. It begins with the main character, social outcast, calling on the aliens to come down to Earth, but then we flash back to what led to that moment. When they do eventually appear, they are an odd bunch, including a dog with the voice of Malcolm McDowell and a lawyer alien who wants to start a lawsuit against Earth. But what follows is surprisingly dull, as a few people get kidnapped by bad aliens and it turns into a rescue mission. Of the 90s Disney Channel original movies, this is definitely the one that most got on my nerves. I, of course, watched almost all these films on Disney+. I say almost because Under Wraps is normally not streaming on there, even though the remake from a few years ago is. Well, the reason the original is not on Disney Plus is because it was not produced by Disney. I know, strange. It was produced by what was then named Hallmark Entertainment, and that library would end up going through a few owners, most recently Chicken Soup for the Soul, which filed for bankruptcy not too long ago. Under Wraps is not streaming anywhere, and even though Echo Bridge released a DVD in the 2000s, that's long been out of print and goes for extremely high prices on Amazon and eBay. So your best luck is with uploads on YouTube and the Internet Archive. It's a shame to see the first official Disney Channel original movie treated this way, but maybe that's why Disney will retain the rights to several of the ones that followed. Now, if you were to ask me what my personal favorite 90s DCOMs are, my top three are Under Wraps, Smart House, and Halloween Town. I felt they had the best characters, the strongest dialogue, the most creativity, and had the most fun with their concepts, while also knowing how to use their budgets. However, most of the other DCOMs had their moments of joy too, and only a few outright annoyed me. It's easy to see why they appealed to many who grew up with them, and it was fun giving many of the movies a look for the first time and approaching them with adult eyes while still trying to keep the appropriate mindset. Do you have your own memories of this initial batch of Disney Channel original movies? And which of the 90s DCOMs are your favorites? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.